Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Midnight Frightcast, episode 72. I'm supposed to be energetic, but I kind of want to die right now, so you're just going to have to deal with it. We don't have Mr. Fast Finish, Mr. Greg the movie guy here today. He is sick. I took up with the wrong street corner girl. We are hoping for his return very soon. Greg, please don't stab us. Across from me, I've got the doctor of everything else, Patrick.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And over here we got our Scream Princess, Josh.
We went now with the other guy in the room.
Yeah, the other guy in the room.
Oh, the other guy.
Or the guy who likes to watch.
That, or the douchebag across the table.
Yeah.
I've got so many different titles now. You missed a lot. Welcome back, Maddie.
Yeah.
Here's this bitch.
And here's this bitch, yeah.
And I'm Maddie. I was gone for a little bit. These drama llamas thought I was abducted or some shit, but I was just visiting my family for the holidays, which I think I told you guys.
Did you?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I went back and scrolled through that. And
Just specifically remember telling us that you were leaving.
yeah, I was just like, peace.
Oh, I knew you were out. And then also with, like, you had everything else going on that you just didn't have time to pass. Well, and plus you don't watch a lot of 2019 films.
That too.
Weird.
So, yeah. So, having you on that cast would have been a little difficult. So.
Oh, I know. I watched 2 2/4 of 2019 films. So
Which ones do you remember? Which one you watched?
What did I watch? I actually had this written down.
The Void. It's your film of the decade.
Oh my god, what did I watch?
We did say something about that, though, that was your film of the decade.
Well, fuck yeah, it was. That was some good shit. I don't know if anyone... We were just talking about this, but I don't know if anyone saw the Bloody Disgusting films of the decade. Whoever did that...
Oh, what a shitty list that was.
Yeah, who put that together?
I almost want to talk about that list.
They did a top 20.
Yeah, let's
they did
talk
a top
about that
25.
real quick.
Yeah, bring that up. They did a top 25, though. They didn't even do a top... They couldn't even condense it down to a top 10.
And that was of the decade?
Yeah, of the decade. And, the number one was Evil Dead, which, is a good movie, but I wouldn't...
That remake is... I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's
remake.
a good movie, but, I wouldn't count it... I'd put it in the top of the decade. I don't think...
Not a number one.
I don't think number one. And another thing I noticed were most of those big studios.
It seemed like it for the most part.
Yeah, because, as I said, where is Terrifier? Terrifier was great. It landed on a ton of people's, top lists.
Some of them I could see for it, but there were others that
And as I said, any list that puts The Witch in there, you can blow me. You can blow my dad. You can blow my mom. Just blow me.
Yeah, they had The Witch in there. They had It Follows in there, which was not my thing.
What was the other one? Hereditary was number 3, which does not belong up there. It's a drama. What was the other one I was real salty about?
Okay, so going through their list, I'm going to count 25 down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or up to 1.
Let's chat about these for a second.
Yeah, I was going to say
we'll bounce to our trailer.
This will kind of make up for kind of a weak topic. For this
we're just going to completely go out of order today.
Well, Quiet Place.
Okay, well, I think that belongs in there. I know Maddie didn't like that movie, though, right?
Yeah, but I can see it being up there because it was, I guess it was new.
This is top 25, by the way. Yeah, so there's not any that top 10.
And remember, it's of the decade.
Yeah.
Of the decade. Yeah, I think it does stand to be in there, at least the top 25, because it was a different kind of horror film. Mm-hmm. So I think it has its place. Lords of Salem.
I don't think that belongs in there at all. That's the worst Rob Zombie movie that he made. I don't think that belongs at all.
I've not seen it. I can't judge this one.
It's pretty rough.
Okay, that's not part of the trilogy, is it?
No.
Okay. Spring.
Spring was actually really good.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I saw that just the one time, but from what I saw, I enjoyed it.
I've not seen that one. That was in 2014. Attack the Block.
I loved that movie.
That's a fun movie.
It's fun.
I haven't seen that one either, yeah.
The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Again, I think that ended up on the top 10 list when we did. I think it's 2016?
Something like that, because I think for 2016 we were picking Terrifier and a couple other things. Mm-hmm. But I mean, when we did the top 10 in 2016, I think that landed on there.
Yeah, for sure.
The Invitation.
You guys, I didn't like that movie.
I did not like that movie. It was too slow. There was not even enough horror elements in it at the end.
Did anything happen in that movie?
Yeah, they had dinner.
Yeah.
For 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
Are they French?
Final Girls is fucking fun.
At number 19, The Final Girls.
Yeah, that was a fun movie too.
Fun, but top 20?
Probably not top 25, no. But it's super original though. That was the thing with that is like it's a different take on that genre, or that subgenre. So I think that's why it might have made that in there.
Okay. At number 18, Raw.
Didn't love it.
No.
It's a good film, but it's not a great film.
Yeah.
To me, it wasn't that much of a horror. It was a drama, a family drama almost, because it was about her and her sister being cannibals.
Yeah, as I said, this is what bugged me about this list. It seemed more like they just picked a bunch of horror dramas. Like, it didn't seem... Whoever wrote this list, I just don't believe that they love horror. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because, as I said, there was nothing really on that list that I was like, this is a... There's a couple maybe, but I wasn't like, this is a true horror movie. It was all horror drama or horror comedy.
Did they just have a specific type of horror that they like, and it doesn't pertain to what we like?
What normal people like?
Well, I mean, sure.
And was this decided by, it says by the Bloody Disgusting staff, so I thought maybe it was just one person, but I guess this is something they all came together and put together. Number 17, Jordan Peele's Us.
Is low. That's low for me.
It is low for me as well.
There's films that made it into the top 10 that...
Now, when it comes comparing Get Out and Us, which one has more horror elements to it?
So Get Out, for me, is horrifying. Like, that's, like, just fucking scary because it's some real-life shit that you can deal with. But Us... I mean, I guess I didn't find Us that scary, though. Really either.
I think it had more horror elements to it, though.
Yeah, definitely.
But not necessarily scary. Number 16, I Saw the Devil.
I haven't seen that yet. I saw it landed on a bunch of people's lists.
We reviewed that, didn't we?
We watched it. We didn't review it for the cast, but we definitely watched it. It was part of our 31 Days of Horror.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously it didn't stand out to me if I can't even remember what the film was.
It was really slow. It was a really slow burn movie.
Oh, I'll skip it.
Okay, 15, Don't Breathe.
Love it.
I love that one too.
Yeah, that one, like, I've never hated a horror villain because I'm normally cheering for him. I hated this guy.
Oh, he was horrible.
Yeah, like, did they make a part 2 of this one?
They are making a part 2.
Okay, I want this guy on fire in that movie, and I want the entire hour and 45 minutes of that movie to be just him on fire.
Number 14, Train to Busan.
Favorite.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's a zombie movie, but it's
got heart to it.
It's a different
got
kind
a
of
good story.
Movie. Yeah, it's really good. It's super fast too.
Okay.
This one, although I enjoyed the movie, should not be on this list as top 25 of the decade. Gerald's Game.
I don't even see it as horror. I don't even count it as a horror film. Really.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's a drama.
Yeah, total drama.
I enjoyed it, but not top 25 for horror. Maniac
was fun. I mean, Elijah Wood that was his company that did that. And it was a good time. You know, I didn't see the original Maniac, so I had nothing to compare it to.
I didn't know it was a remake.
It's a remake, yeah.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it for the most part.
I enjoyed it, but again, do you think top 25?
No.
I mean, because what I'm not seeing on this list so far is your Halloween. Well, I mean, the past decade, but I mean more of the slasher genre. I'm not seeing anything.
Drama.
Yeah.
Drama and comedy.
Yeah, I'm not seeing It Chapter 1. I love the movie personally. I don't think it should be on there for the top 20 of the decade. I guess it all depends maybe what it was up against that year.
Right. I mean, that ended up pretty high on our list for that year.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, like,
right.
none of these that we're reading off are any indie ones.
Not at all.
Like, these
the
all...
Babadook is.
A couple of them
terrible.
are because, like...
That was the other one that I was like, that's the worst fucking movie.
Here, this is a question I have, though. Are movies that are made by the IFC independent movies, or is the IFC a studio?
That's independent.
Right.
Independent Film Channel, I guess, is what it is.
But if it's through the IFC, that's a studio, isn't it?
It's not studio money, though.
I was gonna say, aren't they taking like other people's films and like doing distributing them?
Is that more like a Blumhouse thing then?
I think IFC is more a distribution company that picks movies up.
Well, everybody's favorite by IFC is The Babadook.
Oh, kiss my ass.
Yeah, The Babadook's really terrible. And it got a ton of hype, too.
It did. It got a ton of hype, and it is on a lot of people's top 10.
I don't get it. Like, if that movie made me want to have an abortion and I'm sterile.
Oh, my God.
This one really surprised me to be on the top 25 of the decade, and that's Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah, because you said that was...
Oh, it actually ended up on my top 10 for this year. However, I cannot say it's top 25.
Yeah.
This movie grew on me the more I thought about it and the more I reread the books. But top 25, I just don't think it should be there because it's not as horror specific as some of the other movies that we've reviewed and watched. What We Do in the Shadows, funny movie.
I never saw it.
Not a horror
film.
I
watched it. I didn't think there was any horror
because even in
there.
horror comedy, there's horror in it. And this is strictly comedy. The only thing that makes it horror
is their
vampires.
Yeah. And we've smashed those down as being a horror icon in the past decade. So.
This one I could probably agree with. The Conjuring at number 7.
Yep.
It sparked that entire universe. We've got Josh's favorite at number 6, It Follows.
Fuck that movie.
Yeah, that movie's pretty dull. I don't even think I watched it all the way through. Big surprise.
I think it probably ranks higher because it's more similar to some of the classical horror films where people are being chased. You can't get away from what you're running from.
The scariest part of that movie is the fact that you can't get away from what's like. You have to stop to sleep, and you have to stop to eat, and you have to stop to and whatever's chasing you doesn't.
Right.
And that's I guess the scariest part of it. And it's shot really well. It looks really nice, but I just couldn't get it.
It just didn't have the legs. Number 5. Now, if you're going to talk about horror comedy done right, Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods is a good one.
I think that's a good pick to put in there. And then everybody's favorite, number 4, The Witch.
Fuck that movie.
I can't I would have been pissed. I am pissed if it made it anywhere in the top 25, but to have it as number 4, have these people ever seen a horror movie before? Because that movie is garbage.
And one thing I will say that I love about this movie is the time period that it's set in.
Oh, yeah.
And I think because they chose that, they could have done so much with this movie. And nothing happened until the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, again, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
It's shot really well.
And I understand that that's something that The Lighthouse suffers from as well.
I do want to see that.
His horror movie from the 2019. At number 3, Hereditary.
I dug Hereditary.
I dug it too.
It's just really slow.
It is slow, and as I said,
pretty slow.
I think it totally lives in the drama. I know there's like gore and shit at the end, but like we've talked about that before. Like gore doesn't make a horror movie, so I think just throwing it at the end of a long, boring
if they were
drama,
able to cut it down by at least 20 minutes, speed it up, I think there was enough stuff in there to make a really good movie. If they had just picked up that pace of the overall feel of the movie.
I think they could have cut almost a full hour out of this movie because wasn't it like 3 hours long?
It was pretty long.
It felt like
very long. So you wanted them to kind of get to the end quicker, like more like
I want them to get to the meat of the story quicker.
Gotcha.
Because it took a while before the daughter even got her head ripped off.
Right. That was so great though.
Yeah, that needed to happen like literally within the first 5 minutes.
And I got to say the marketing on that movie was really, really good because I felt that girl was going to be more present throughout the movie and to kill her off in the first 20 minutes or whatever it was. And then you're thinking, okay, now I have no idea what this movie's about. Number 2, Get Out.
Again,
so Jordan Peele has 2 movies in this top 25.
Jordan Peele's on top, man. Like he doesn't put out a lot of content, but the content he puts out is pretty fantastic.
Now, the number 1 I completely disagree with. It's a good movie. It's a great remake. But Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead sitting at number 1 for the decade, I just can't agree with that.
Yeah, for the spot, I disagree with the spot.
I think it should be part of the top 25,
oh, absolutely.
but not number 1.
I had mine in the top 10 of the decade.
Yeah, this, as I said, this list was just really, really disappointing. And as we said, there's no smaller independent films in here. And, like, I know I hyped The Void up like nobody's business, but that's a true horror movie, and it was good. Where was that on this list? Terrifier was amazing. Where was that?
Yeah.
Like,
who knew there were
there's like 3 independent studios and
IFC,
independent,
A24, Screen Gems? Is that
Screen Gems? Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with most of these.
Yeah.
So should we talk about our trailer now?
Yeah, I was going to say, so we have gotten so far off of what we were doing, but we watched a trailer before this.
We're going to have to do a fast finish podcast.
All right.
Dedicate it to Greg. We'll do that fast finish.
Okay, let's lube up. We watched Gretel and Hansel. Anybody going to rush out and see this one?
I don't know that I'm going to run out and see it. It definitely piques my interest for it. The trailer, I think, is put together really well in not showing too much. I like that because it lets my imagination run wild in what this movie is about. It looks pretty creepy. It looks like it may cover several different sets of folklore other than just the grim fairy tale.
Right.
What's the rating on this?
I'm sure it's rated R.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
But
it's super haunting, and I think one of you guys made a comment about like it does remind you of The Witch. It's got that same tone and that same kind of feel to it, but it looks like I'm looking at it right now. That rating
PG-13.
That's so disappointing.
Oh no.
That just completely like
That's what I
changed
was.
my
that
mind.
doesn't mean that it can't be scary. It just means that they're probably pandering to the lowest common denominator to make the most money off of it.
I was just thinking when I was watching this movie is like, it does look creepy. It has a bunch of creepy imagery in it. But I was almost thinking, I bet this is going to be PG-13 because I bet they're marketing it towards teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, are teenagers going to go see fucking Gretel and Hansel, the horror movie? I mean, do you think anybody like?
I haven't been around a teenager since I was one myself. I don't know what they watch. I assume it's like, I don't know, kids. What do you watch? MTV and
I don't
that
think is MTV still around?
that Jersey Shore thing.
We're so old.
Pump it up.
But yeah, it's really disappointing because again, you slapped that R rating on there, and how much darker could it get? You know what I
Right.
mean? That's my only thing is like, how much are you losing? What did they cut out to get that PG-13 rating? I don't know. We talked about it last time when we were on the podcast about just sick of the PG-13 horror films. I just want R-rated horror films to come out like they used to. They always used to be R-rated and just.
I think it goes in a cycle because I remember when I was in my late teens that, and I'm probably throwing my time off a little bit here, there was this whole score of PG-13 horror movies that came out. That's all that came out for a year and a half, and it was nuts. And even me at probably not much older than I could go see a rated R movie, I was like, what are you doing? Get going. Push this to the limit. That's what
Right.
horror is about.
I just don't want to be stuck in a theater with a bunch of teenagers because they could go see that movie. It just ruins my movie experience. It just does.
I'm going to take a selfie while we're watching this horror movie.
Right?
Yeah,
Or
literally.
Yeah. It just kind of ruins the whole thing. So, but yeah, I said I don't know if I'll chase this one to the theater or not. It's what I'm seeing is the fourth horror film
in January.
Which is pretty crazy. Like I said, that's early for those movies to
Well,
start
I'm
coming
wondering
out
if
like
they were
that.
ones that were originally scheduled for 2019
Possibly.
and then got pushed.
Probably.
Because, with Grudge coming out this last weekend.
Yep, it made $11 million on its opening weekend, which is more than Cats made on their opening weekend.
Wow.
So, just
Cats,
saying.
the actual horror.
Cats is the actual horror film of January.
11
that was
million, though?
December.
I mean, that's pretty good for an opening weekend horror film in January.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
So,
So for me, it's going to be a rental or a $5 movie
right,
Tuesday.
right.
yeah. This is also because I've noticed movies that have a bunch of really cool, creepy imagery in their trailers. Most of the time, they've shown you all that cool, creepy imagery, and then when you get to the movie, you're like, oh, I've seen everything.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to say, and I hope I can say this without sounding like a total pedophile, is I like who they have cast as the kids.
Yeah,
Because the young woman that's playing Gretel has already done a few movies. She's a really solid actress for her age, so it's not going to be one of those crappy kid acting
right.
films.
She's established.
Yeah.
That's the girl that played Beverly in It. So,
Is the boy from anything? The little boy?
His mom. I do not know.
I don't know.
All right, so we're kind of on this one, but we'll go see it eventually. I totally forgot. Do we do news or what we've been watching?
Do we do
next?
what?
No. Do we do current
I'm
events?
gonna do it by yourself.
Actually, I'm just gonna take it from another cast and plug it in.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to do that. We can
No.
plug it.
Yeah, we can just sit
there.
here and stare at you while you.
Yeah.
I
do
do
it
have
awkwardly.
news.
I got some news.
Yeah.
Did
Oh.
everybody do their homework this weekend?
I did not. No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, my news goes off what you had just talked about, Josh, and that in opening weekend for the teen-friendly Grudge, they brought in $11 million so far, and it's anticipated to bring in $15 million. But what makes it so strange is that it has done that despite the fact that it has received the rare F rating from CineScore.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I heard it was pretty terrible. And the thing is like I was talking about this with somebody the other day, is the original Grudge was practical effects. The girl that played the ghost girl in that movie was a contortionist, and she could just do weird shit with her body, and it was just scary. And I saw a trailer for this the other day, and it's just looks so CG. It's crazy, and it just kind of ruined what the spirit of the Grudge was for me. It does not look scary at all whatsoever. There's some cool little shots in there or whatever, but the whole cool thing for me about the Grudge was that whole practical effects thing from the original movie that they're just not bringing into this new one.
I saw something on Facebook that someone said, like, stop remaking good movies and remake movies that should have been made better. Like,
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, there's a ton of movies that, you know what, I think probably could be remade.
I mean, think what a real director could do with Tusk.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
It's 2020.
Yeah, I got some news if you
cool.
want.
Yeah.
So coming in March, I think it's the 29th and the 30th, you can spend the night inside the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. You will watch the original film along with any other sequels, reboots, remakes.
Except for the Matthew McConaughey one, because they pulled that.
The Next Generation is available. You can get it. It's on the list. You can
really.
We'll just watch the Next Generation over and over again.
Because the production companies pulled that.
You can sleep in any room you like, and it's only going to cost you $475.
Wow.
For the night.
I'll write a check.
I will straight up do that.
13 spots available for each night. So if you want to do it, you better get your ticket now.
I was going to say, that's going to fill up quick.
Right. It probably will.
Yeah.
Rich people with their $500 they can spend for one night of spending the night.
How soon can you start signing up for that?
That I did not see.
Yeah, be careful on that.
Is it $470?
I didn't see that.
Is it $475 a person or just like?
It's $475 a person.
Oh Jesus! Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure it's be a cool experience. They're gonna watch the movie in the dining area that famous dining scene took place in, and so that you can sleep in any room that you want to in the house. But $475, a little crazy.
And with the meat locker.
Any room you want to. You do have to provide your own sleep gear, though. You do have to bring your own pillows and blankets and sleeping bags and air mattresses.
No, for $475, I want to sleep on a bed made of human skin, like in the movie.
Yeah. Nope, that's not an option.
Or the bed frame's made of bones, you bet.
So
I have a business venture for us. If this can go for $475 a person, I'm 90% sure Jeffrey Dahmer's house is still for sale. Let's buy that and charge all these true crime people like $500 a night to go sleep there. I'm just throwing it out there. We could finance this podcast for the next billion years. We could have strippers on here every freaking weekend. It would be a good time.
Jeffrey Dahmer's house. Yeah, so that's my news. So
no, that's really cool.
So is that it for the news then?
That's it.
Fuck.
That's it for our current events.
For current events.
What have we been?
Events.
That's all the enthusiasm you'll get from us.
Yeah.
What have we been watching lately?
Yeah, I only have one thing, and it's because I've been binge watching the shit out of it. Like I kind of been talking about, my wife and I choose one show and try to just watch the whole series or whatever it is. And we recently started this week watching The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. It's fucking so really, really good.
I love that show.
It's really tough to not watch the next episode. We've been trying to just do one a night. Sometimes we cheat and do two.
How many seasons in are you in?
We just finished season 1.
Okay.
So we have about 25, 26 episodes left to get through season 3. And then season 4 is supposed to come out in the summer of 2020.
Yep.
So,
and they do a really good job of doing the cliffhangers on each season's final episode.
It sucks how those cliffhangers just leave you. That's why you said you got to watch the next one, because you're like, oh, fuck, what's going to happen now? Really good show. And it's not even a show that I thought I would really like. It's just we have a list of shows that we're like, we just keep going to the next one. And that was one that we had talked about. And again, it wasn't a show that I thought I would really even get into. But it's from the episode 1, it takes off. And it's really, really good.
And it's because of that show I have my love-hate relationship with Elizabeth Moss.
She's really good in that show.
She is such a good actress, but I just can't stand what she stands for.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's all I've been watching, though.
Patrick.
I haven't been watching a lot. However, something I do want to point out and recommend is actually a Josh recommendation from last week, and that's the Netflix docu-series Don't Fuck with Cats.
You gotta watch it, Maddie.
I know.
You have to watch it.
I know. I had that on my list.
Now, this is the strangest thing, though, and maybe I'm a complete sociopath, but I'm reacting more to what he's doing to the animals and what he's done to people.
Right.
I mean, that just seems really fucking strange.
What he did to the one guy was terrible.
Yeah.
But what he did to those cats was, like, horrendous.
Mm-hmm. And dogs. I mean, he did kill the one dog. I'm only 2 episodes in of the 3.
I won't say anything much more than...
Don't.
But you like the what he does with the 4 things he shows with what he did to the cats is just awful.
Yeah,
and the python thing is oof. All right.
That one didn't bother me as much as the others for some reason. I mean, it was still really fucking
gross,
horrible. I think it's one you would like, Maddie.
Yeah, I had it recommended to me a couple times, so I do plan on watching it.
Gotta watch
it. So yeah, I do recommend Don't Fuck with Cats.
It's easy too. It's 3 episodes, but they're an hour apiece.
Oh,
and
talk dirty to me.
Really interesting. So, all right. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that now.
And what I love about it is, and this is not giving anything away, Maddie, is how normal people are helping do this. Mm-hmm. They base it around an internet community, so it's really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm gonna check that one out. Since I've just kind of been on my break, I really haven't been watching anything. I listened to the latest Terminator movie with Emilia Clarke. I was playing cards with it behind me in the background. And even what I heard, I wasn't really impressed with. And I don't think anyone that watched it actually thought it was that great. So
yeah, it got kind of bombed. It didn't do very well.
Yeah, it was. We were staying in a house, and like that was just like they just had a handful of DVDs there, and like half of them were like Paw Patrol the movie or some shit. And so we were just like, I guess we're watching Terminator. I'm not allowed to pick movies ever. So.
The most, kind of grab for me for the new Terminator was I heard Edward Furlong was coming back to play John Connor in that movie. So that's what I was I was like, oh my God, Edward Furlong, that'd be really cool. And then I heard he wasn't even in it for very long. So
yeah, I don't think John Connor was in the movie for very long. As I said, I watched it from like it was over here and I was playing cards like this. I also am totally caught up on my Crime Junkie podcast, which makes me sad because now I'm like, oh, I want to hear.
You got to find another one now.
I know.
I recommend this really good podcast. It's called the Midnight Frightcast. You should listen to a couple of those. They're sometimes some of them are good. Some of them are like, there's only 2 guys talking on that one. That one sucks.
I heavily recommend that podcast, but I like true crime shit.
What's it called again?
Crime Junkie.
Crime Junkie? Mm-hmm. All right.
Anybody else been watching anything that they want to just throw
That's
out
it.
there?
I have a list of things that I want to see, and I'm going to visit my brother in Florida here in about a week and a half. And so while I'm out there, I'm going to have some downtime. So I plan on Ubering my ass over to a movie theater and checking out a couple of movies that I want to see. So
yeah, I know a lot of people, most of the people on our plane were watching movies. I am terrified of flying, so I am drugged and drunk, so I can't watch anything.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of flying either, but I won't get drunk or anything. I just put my head down and fall asleep, and hopefully I land. I mean, on the ground in one piece. So.
I don't know. For some reason, Bloody Marys taste totally different when you're up flying altitude. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on to our topic that we decided like probably about 3 minutes before we started rolling.
That's pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of gloss over it and then turn it over to Josh because he was the one who came up with it.
I mean, I feel like we kind of came up with it as a collective
effort.
That way we can share the blame.
Yeah, let's spread that blame around. Spread it like peanut butter.
Or what we could do is just say that whole opening sequence we just did, that was our topic.
That could have been the topic.
And then we just move on to our feature.
We almost could do that.
I mean, that's fine.
I was saying I did kind of like our topic.
Okay, well let's
and besides we know it's going to be like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not going to be very long.
Yeah, let's start out then. Let's go for it.
So our topic, obviously we've talked here, none of us get really scared by anything anymore, but we kind of wanted to do like what scared us when we first started watching horror movies versus what really scares us now. Which, as I said, we do our scare factor, and I don't think any movie's rated above like a 4 has it.
No, not really.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad. But yeah, I'm sure we were all scared of shit when we first started watching them. Anybody want to jump in?
There were movies when I was younger that would keep me up all night after watching them. I remember watching Salem's. This is the one that sticks in my head. There are two movies actually: The Exorcist and Salem's Lot. And Salem's Lot was a made-for-TV movie with David Soul, I think, was the main character, played Ben, and the young boy that was floating outside the window and scratching on the window and stuff like that. That shit kept me up for days.
Yeah.
So anything like that would make me hear noises in the house, and I lived in an older house that was constantly settling, and I would hear things all the time. So things like that would just scare the shit out of me. And then also anything that had to do with possessions scared me because I have a deeply religious background, and it was my understanding that all of that is possible, and that would just freak my shit out. So anything like that would just keep me up at night. But as time went on and I watched more and more stuff, I've become so desensitized to things. And even like when it comes to more of the torture porn or what's the term I'm looking for? The type that you like, Maddie.
That good shit.
Where it's
The good shit.
No, where it's a lot more intense.
Oh, like the extreme.
Extreme horror.
Yeah.
And even at that, I've become so desensitized to, because, there was a couple titles that you had me watch, or that you suggest I watch. I watched and I got through them and I'm like, okay, this is really nothing. Did it make me feel a little uncomfortable? Maybe. But nothing in the past, I would say easily, nothing in the past maybe 20 years has affected me to the point where it scares me. The only thing that scares me now in movies, and just because I'm a wimp about it, is jump scares. And it has to have like noises associated with it. Loud noises make me jump. Is that really what scares me though? It makes me jump, but it doesn't really scare me. Yeah. So I don't know that anything scares me now when it comes to watching horror films.
Right. I mean, for me, and it's the same, it hasn't changed, was it's all the shit that you can't see. That's the biggest scare for me. The movie The Entity with Barbara Hershey, that scared the shit out of me the first time I saw that movie. And it was all about stuff like it's paranormal and it's ghosts, but you have no idea where the fuck this thing is. And that's the biggest, scariest thing for me, is just not knowing something's there, but not knowing where it is or when it's going to strike or if it's going to get you. It's the same thing when I saw the original Amityville Horror. Those just movies just affected me highly. And now, I mean, again, today I can watch them and it's fine. But both those movies also are based off of true life cases.
Well, quote unquote true.
Quote unquote true life cases.
Yeah.
So like that puts an even more scare factor to it, is knowing that shit, quote unquote, really happened and could happen. And so that's what really scared me as a kid and a teenager. Now, again, like I don't get affected really by the gore anymore and the blood, and I don't like Maddie's extreme shit. Like I'm just like, I can't always do that, and it doesn't affect me. I just look at it and go, this is fucking stupid, and I don't really want to watch that person have all those parts ripped off their body. It's just not my thing. But again, she recommended Martyrs, and I watched Martyrs, and there's only one spot in that whole movie that affected me, and I talked highly about it. It's just watching this girl get fucking punched over and over again. And we're gonna get ready. We're gonna watch that here again in like a couple weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks.
Yeah, and I'm gonna rewatch it because I think a second time around with it, I'll catch things and I'll see things that I didn't really get to see the first time because I was busy reading subtitles and stuff like that. And I'll be really curious to hear Fast Finish's thoughts on Martyrs as well, and if he watches the whole thing. So, but yeah, it's just.
I think Greg will probably have the hardest time watching that.
Yeah, we'll see.
I know he sits there and pretends like we're treating him with kid gloves and stuff.
Right.
But
No, it is a rough watch. So.
But yeah, for me, to this day, it's just the shit you can't see.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
So,
they tend to show too much in movies and have for a long time.
right. I mean, it's all tension building. I
will say the last movie that affected me was probably Blair Witch.
Blair
And
Witch
they
is
didn't
great,
show
yeah.
anything.
Not at all.
In that.
Yeah. So, well, the Blair Witch from
The original.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
The remake's not terrible either.
No, it's
No,
not.
yeah, the Blair Witch is
We
really
Like
great.
I liked it. I liked
Yeah.
it a lot. Yeah.
So, what about you, Maddie?
When I was younger, I was terrified of taxidermy animals. No idea why. I think I saw them in like one movie and I had nightmares about them for like 3 years. Don't know why. I was also like, and I feel like this is a pretty healthy fear that I still kind of carry into my adulthood, was like, I watched a lot of abduction movies when I was younger. Like, my mom just for some reason like
alien abduction or just
no like like we watched like The Vanishing and like Eye for an Eye and some yeah, and we kind of joked with my poor mother forever. We were like, you're not allowed to watch another Kiefer Sutherland movie because you come up with some other ridiculous fear. But like, I don't know, that always like freaked me out when I was a kid because those were so realistic. Like, because there are people that just like, as I said, I've just been watching my true crime thing and like people get snatched up all the time. Like it's not something that doesn't happen, and especially like women just get snatched up all the time. I don't know if anyone's noticed, I'm pretty short. I'm carryable. You can just pick me up and carry me.
Put you in your luggage.
Yeah, like I can fit in a duffel bag. But as an adult, I get more affected by like true crime documentaries than I do horror movies. There are a couple things that make me uncomfortable, but more not on like a scared level, but just on like a hey, don't do that level. But like, the hair thing, I hate. Once the hair leaves the human body, it's disgusting to me.
I like how during the trailer earlier, Josh said, "Why do they keep doing that?"
Yeah.
Stop
pulling hair out of your mouth. That's gross. And the other thing is, in my personal life, I don't like people invading my bubble. And there's been like movies where everyone for some reason stands real close to each other and are just like on top of each other's ass and just like keep touching each other all the time. I think Suspiria was one of them. And that makes me uncomfortable because I'm just like, can y'all give some people some personal space? So I don't think it scares me or anything, but
yeah, it just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, it just makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
And obviously, I love extreme horror, so like that's kind of just pounded that. You're right. Sometimes it is stupid. You're just like, who sat there and thought of this?
Right.
Like Human Centipede. Who did that?
Okay, first of all, I dug those movies.
They're
fun.
They are.
I mean, who doesn't want to see somebody get sewn to somebody else's asshole?
Well, yeah, and like I watched that movie and made one of my guy friends go out and teach me how to change a tire. Like the day after, I was like, I will not end up sewn to another man's ass.
Right.
Like,
well, without your consent.
Yeah.
But I don't even think.
I need this to be notarized.
I mean, I'm surprised that. Do you think the Human Centipede is extreme horror? Do you find that as extreme horror?
I thought it was
compared to the shit that you watch.
No. Although it kind of reminded me a little bit of that Gretel and Hansel thing where they go in and they're creeped out right off the bat and they don't leave. Because that was like my biggest problem with Human Centipede is they go up to the door and the first thing, Uncle Touchy asks them is, "Are you alone?" And they're like, "No," and they still go into his house. If I go up to someone's house, like knock on the door and they're like, "Are you alone?" I am sprinting my fat ass back into the woods. Like, no.
The second sequence I thought was more disturbing than the first one.
Well, that guy was creepy.
The guy was fucking really really terrifying. Yeah.
I wanted to see the casting call for that.
Right.
Like, we need the ugliest, creepiest man we can find.
I'm on it.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what has to be made for me to find it scary anymore.
Anymore, I'm not even looking for. I'm looking for scares because I want to be like that's the best part of going to a horror film is like you want to be affected, but I also want a good story in a horror film. Like I want something to kind of entertain me, but also be told well. It's not like I don't watch horror films now the way I used to watch them. It's completely different. How I view them now and what I appreciate and what I'm just like, I'm just dumb.
Yeah, because I was completely surprised by your 2019 picks.
Really?
Was that they were more story driven than any past years that you've put that list together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not even looking for a good story anymore. I'm looking for a good time.
Right, exactly.
And that was the other thing. It was between stories and a good time.
Yeah.
Because we weren't even. I've pretty much given up chasing the scare.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know that I will find a movie that scares me.
Yeah, I chased that for years. That's why I watched that extreme shit, because I thought I was going to find that scare in there. But nope, I just see people being disemboweled and raped.
Yeah.
So
Right. I mean,
so now you're just looking for creative ways for those things to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and we found a few of those gems over the course of, like even in the past year, we had the French film, and I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, was it the one I picked?
yeah.
It was one that you picked. That
Frontiers.
Frontiers,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, that one just really caught me off
fun.
guard. I really enjoyed it. It had a nice blend, and
Frontiers is really good. Yeah,
I
enjoyed
Frontiers.
Frontiers. So yeah, I'll be curious to see where this is the first podcast of the year. So I'll be curious as we fill in our list for the year, what everybody picks and what we end up kind of watching. We have our first 4 or 5 movies picked. So,
and that usually happens because we have ours picked out from the best of the year.
Right.
I'm just going to fill in the rest of the year with The Void. We're just going to watch The Void 12 times this year.
Ugh.
No.
I barely got through it the first time.
Oh, that's okay.
That's all right. I know.
Yeah, I know it's not for everybody.
That's what scares me in movies is if I have to watch The Void again.
Yeah. What scares me the most is Maddie's picks. So,
I would say
I do watch garbage.
You know what, though? Other than that really shithole art film you had us watch,
yeah.
Begotten, I would say you're probably have a better percentage than the rest of us.
I've also been here for less time.
Right. but I'm just saying that your batting average is better than the rest of us.
But she also picks shit that none of us would ever pick.
Right.
So we'd never watch those movies unless Maddie was like, "I'm forcing you to fucking watch this movie." So
I think
that's a good thing.
Yeah, Martyrs might be an exception to that rule.
Yeah.
We'll see when we get there.
As I said, no matter what you think of it, is a very well-made movie.
It really is, and I think you're gonna build it up in your head probably more than.
And that's probably good because
Yeah.
then I'll go into it and it'll be so much
Right.
more tame.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I'd show it to a child. Why don't you guys watch it at your son's birthday party
Here you
tonight?
go.
I don't have a copy of it, or I'd totally put it in, but I don't. I lost my copy of Martyrs. I don't know where it went. Probably in the trash. I don't know.
You borrowed it from me.
Did I give it back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well then there it is. I don't have it anymore.
All right. Well, I think we've beaten that topic to death. You guys got a bonus at the beginning.
We can say what Greg was scared of, though. Is still scared of. That's pretty much clowns and spiders, right?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those still scare him.
Show him the Itsy Bitsy trailer and it on repeat, and
Yeah.
we'll have a party.
Yeah,
I should edit some of those scenes together. Just make...
Yeah, as we said, Greg's sick right now. If anyone wants to cheer him up, you can go dress up like a spider clown. He lives in Elkhorn. Go show up at his door.
It'll make his day, really.
Yeah, have a good time. You might vomit out that that bug. We're gonna move on to the movie that Josh decided we were gonna
I will
review.
take the blame for that.
No, that's fine.
we all agreed, though. Well, not Maddie, but Greg and I agreed to
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to you. I want to know why you picked this movie, and I also want some
for sure.
beats from Patrick.
Well, yeah, the movie that we picked tonight, or I picked tonight, I guess, or as a collective without Maddie last week, we picked for tonight was the 2019 Hulu original film Depraved. Patrick's got deets.
Was it a Hulu original?
I think so.
I thought so.
Okay. Anyway, Depraved, 2019, running about an hour 45. It may be just a little bit longer than that. Running on Hulu. A disillusioned field surgeon suffering from PTSD makes a man out of body parts and brings him to life in a Brooklyn loft. IMDb rating 4.9. Metacritic score rating 69%. Rotten Tomato critic rating 87%, with a Rotten Tomato audience score of 51%.
I can see why this was caught a bunch of critics' eyes.
Yeah.
I can too. When I saw how much it mirrored the Frankenstein stories, I could see why the critics would jump on it and really, really like this film.
Right. So I talked about it, I think, at length at the podcast last week. So
Well, this ended up in your top 10.
It was my number 6 on my top 10.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and defend it. That's how I felt. I feel that way. It doesn't change. That's where I would put it. And again, it comes back to just how I watch horror films now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious to see what you guys more think. Because like I said, I've talked about it. I want to know. You said you were felt like I was trolling you, and I'm curious to see what Patrick thought. So, because it was on his list, I think you just didn't get to it, right?
I did not get to it
Yeah.
for the 2019 year, but it was on my list.
But yeah, for me, it was just real quick. I got the same feeling from watching Depraved as I got from watching Train to Busan, which was it's a film that has a horror tone to it, but it's got some heart in there also. And that relationship between the creature and I think his name's Henry, the scientist.
The scientist, yeah.
And how that formed and how it went from being one thing to being kind of watching as the creature started to develop those, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but throughout the movie, and just kind of watching, like, he was going to do one thing with him, and then all of a sudden, like, he started to care about him. And it was stuff like that I kind of attracts me to that movie. And these horror films is because I am into very much the characters. And I cared about the characters and their story. And like I said, that's kind of, and so it was a whole different take on the Frankenstein monster, which I thought was kind of a cool spin. But that's just, again, how I felt. So, Maddie, pick on it.
I don't really have anything to pick on it. I just didn't like it. I thought it was well made and well acted, but I don't like heart in my horror movies unless it's being ripped out and thrown on the floor. I don't think it has a place there. I will, as I said, I only watched the first hour of this movie, but there was no horror in here to me. It was a drama, and I just didn't feel like there was anything happening.
You want to call this movie body horror? It's the same thing as if you watched a Soska Sisters movie. If you watched American Mary, it's body horror.
Body horror? Oh, okay, that's new.
What it is.
I thought it just lived a lot more in the drama field. I didn't know body horror was a thing, but to me, there's just nothing.
Well, you've never seen Josh naked.
That's body horror.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, let's all keep our pants on during this podcast.
I better put mine back on.
Yeah, and you've got a cat in your lap too, man. That's living dangerous. She's still got her claws.
She does.
But as I said, I've talked about it before. I just can't with movies that take, like, if I watch the first hour and, like, nothing's really happened, yeah, you're not going to convince me to keep watching it.
Well, I got to say, I was hooked by the opening scene.
That's what I was going to say. I was like,
because I figured it was going to be like this, hour and a half of just raw sex.
Yeah, me too.
No, I really enjoyed the story to this movie quite a bit. But I agree with you, Maddie. I don't know that I would list this as a horror film per se. And we're running into that an awful lot lately. I really did enjoy how it reflected the story of Frankenstein, even up to the point where they used really cheesy effects during some of the dream sequences, that it was just really bad special effects. And I think that was intended specifically to help reflect those things.
I mean, would you call? I'm sorry, and I said that.
No,
would you call Frankenstein a horror film?
I don't.
You don't call Frankenstein a horror film? I don't.
But the people back then, when the movie first came out,
right,
would definitely say that it was a horror film because it was a monster. There was Frankenstein's monster.
Right.
As I say, it was a monster movie.
It's a monster movie, but I didn't necessarily feel that this was a monster movie. However, he went through the exact same thing that Frankenstein's monster did. Mm-hmm. Adam stepped through all those things where he was learning to do things. He was being taught. He meets up with another person who kind of helps guide him. He has the whole thing with, there was the mirroring of the young girl at the lake in the original movie, mm-hmm. and then him with the woman that he met at the bar.
Uh-huh. Yep.
I mean, there was so many times that it really reflected well with the original film, and how he was being pursued by the mobs and everything. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the movie. So I think for me, the real strength of this movie is the story, not necessarily the horror.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that too. As I said, I didn't think this was a bad movie. I just didn't have any interest in it.
And really, there was virtually no gore in this. There was maybe a couple people shot and you saw blood. Mm-hmm. Even the stabbing was pretty tame. Well, I don't want to say pretty tame.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the original murder at the beginning. And I do like how, he follows through. It's almost like a love story for him towards the end as well, where he's able to reconnect, sort of.
Yeah, with the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know what you call horror anymore, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just...
It's fine. Neither does
anyone. Yeah, it's like it's all just, your own, I guess, idea. You have your own idea of what horror is anymore. It's martyrs for somebody, and it's this for somebody else, mm-hmm. and it's this for somebody else, and it's not ever going to be the same thought process, I guess.
I just want, like, slashers back. Like, I'm tired of this horror. I've said this a million times. I'm tired of horror drama. I don't want it anymore.
Right. I gotcha.
Well, I think that's why we're, even in Josh, your list for your 2019 top 10, it was almost half and half. It was either good story or fun time.
It ran the gamut. Yeah, it definitely ran the gauntlet because it went from mine stretched from the banana splits to Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Exactly.
And it was a really
from
weird...
one that has really no story to something that
Right.
is so story driven.
Right. But then you can sit there and go, Tigers Are Not Afraid. Not a horror film, but there's a horror elements
But
to it.
it is, exactly.
So...
And that's the same thing with this movie. Is I didn't necessarily feel it was a horror film, but it does have horror elements in it.
Yeah. So
The guy who played Adam, what's he been in before? His face was really familiar.
I don't know.
I wouldn't know him from Adam.
But
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know what...
Yeah, no, I was just like
He
looking
was
at him.
in-
I was like, he looks really familiar. His like girlfriend right off the bat like annoyed me when I watched this. I was like, please tell me she dies.
I know you asked like the beginning. You sent a message out. You were like, "Does this girl die in this movie?" And I was like, "Is she watching the right movie? Because what girl is she talking about?"
His like girlfriend at the beginning
Yeah,
just like
right.
crankled me the wrong way. Like,
Yeah, she's pretty whiny.
yeah. God.
Have you seen Trek?
Trick?
He's in Trek.
Oh, that
it's
was
on
on
my
my
list.
yeah. I was gonna say that's
Yeah.
on my list. I thought that was coming out way later in the year.
I thought it was coming out last year.
Oh, okay.
I think it's even listed as a 2019.
It is
film.
listed as a 2019
Okay.
film.
So
He looks a lot like the guy from American Beauty, like grown up. I don't know why, he just really reminds me of him. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Gotcha.
But I don't think that's him.
No, it's not. It's not on his list anyway. His IMDb.
But yeah, like I said, I thought they were going to do this Frankenstein, this Bride of Frankenstein turn at the end also. I thought they were going to kick that element in there at the end and have him create this whole other being for himself. And then that was the one thing I was kind of like, oh, they kind of dropped the ball on that one. I thought that would have been kind of a cool.
I don't know that he had developed enough intelligence to do. I mean, were you thinking that he would do it himself?
No, not himself.
Or he would have.
He was like, I can.
He would have Henry do it.
Yeah, he would have Henry do it. Like, I can do exactly what they did to me, which was kill me, but I'm not dead long enough to where they can't recreate me.
I also thought a lot of the writing in this was very, very smart. It was very intelligent, especially when he took Adam. I can't remember the other character's name. I want to say Polonius, and I know that's not right. But the guy who was financing the whole thing took Adam to the Met in New York, and they went through the entire art gallery.
Right.
And he discussed about all the different things about human nature. And it just fed right into the whole depraved nature of man,
Right.
that we all react violently.
Yeah.
And his monologues as he was speaking to Adam, because Adam wasn't really talking at that point, just really, really well written.
Yeah.
And then, of course, going from this beautiful, beautiful art gallery to
The
a
club.
strip club and snorting
Right.
coke. And
Right.
it showed the many sides of man. And I just thought it was really well structured.
Yeah.
More like the many sides of my Saturday night.
There you go.
One thing, and I don't know if this kind of like changed throughout the movie, but like who was the director?
Again, I do not know.
Yeah,
who
I'll
did
tell
it.
you here in just a
it's
second.
is it Mike? Is it Michael?
Larry Fessenden.
But a guy though, because I was
right.
just,
And it was also written by him.
the female characters all didn't have the dimension that the male characters did, and I just like right off the bat they all were his girlfriend was so whiny, and then the Liz character was also kind of whiny, and then the other older woman that showed up like didn't say anything, and I was just like, so you don't think that your female characters should have any more than just one dimension of, I don't know, maybe he had a really bad weekend with his girlfriend when he was writing this, but
they were a little superficial. The scene that I thought was kind of odd is when, is it Liz? Was that Henry's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Had a conversation with Adam, and there was like all this sexual tension.
Right.
That just felt weird to me because she...
Yeah, and I did watch through that part, and I was just kind of like, she doesn't know this guy. She doesn't know if his dick works. Like, how did she...
Well,
That was
sexual
right after the
tension?
strip club
Yeah,
part, though,
right.
where he was like, I want a girl
Yeah.
that, like, Henry has.
But what I was confused by, and correct me if I'm wrong, did Liz not know that he was brought back to life? Because I thought she understood what Henry was doing, what his research was.
I couldn't pick that up either way from what I watched.
For some reason, I thought at one point, like right at the end of her first appearance, when she stops in and asks him how he feels or something like that.
Right.
I thought off camera while Adam was getting dressed, my understanding of the conversation at that point is that she knew what was going on. So when we got to that second part where they had that sexual tension between the two of them, I kind of was taken back going, she's sexually attracted to a guy that she knew was undead or brought back to life, not undead.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know.
And has possibly body parts from multiple people.
Other people. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't,
Okay. Yeah. As I said, that was like, as I said, I think this was a really well written, acted, blah, blah, blah movie. It just, as I said, just wasn't my thing. But that was kind of like my biggest gripe about how it was made, is I was just kind of like, women are more than nagging and holes. You know what I mean? Like, have a little more respect.
Well, and how easily Polonius, I keep saying that's not the character's name.
Is it not?
When the way he treated his wife at the end.
Yeah.
So abruptly. Mm-hmm. Let us say it is Polidori.
Oh,
same fucking thing.
It's close.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it was a well story driven film.
Cool. Awesome. Anybody have any other thoughts they want to?
No.
Okay, then let's score this thing. We do gore score, fear factor, and overall rating. And would you recommend this to your friends or enemies? Patrick, gore score.
Gore score is really, really low for me. There wasn't much shown, and even what was shown was like on security camera. So I would probably say 2, 1, 2, right in there.
Yeah.
Because even the violence wasn't that violent.
And I'd go like 3, 4 just for the body makeup that, Adam was covered with.
Body makeup was good. Except for the ear. The ear looked plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I remember thinking that same thing.
Because it was too yellow or something. There was really...
Well, it was like... Yeah, I
know what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, no gore.
Don't you fucking give it a 0.
I was going to give it a 1. God. Fear factor.
Really low for me again. There just wasn't enough there to make me feel uncomfortable. I would probably give it a 1.
Yeah, again, this is not a scary movie. We just had a cool conversation about what scares us. So that's the same 1, too.
Yeah, 1. But let's do overall. Let's see if we can boost that score up.
Like I had said, I think it was a well-written, story-driven movie, and I would give it, as a movie, on the whole, probably about a 6 or 7. As a horror film, it drops down to about a 5. Would I recommend it to someone? Definitely. I think it's a good watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's 7, 8 in that area. I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, it ended up on my top 10, high on my top 10. And I just really enjoyed it. So I would definitely recommend it to really anybody. It's an easy watch. Really anybody can watch that movie. If you like those old Universal monster movies and Frankenstein and you're looking for a different kind of sort of telling of it, I definitely recommend that movie.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6 or 7 too as a movie. I would not recommend it to someone if they asked me for a horror recommendation, like ever. I would recommend it as a movie. I would also say slow burn. Yeah, other than that, as I said, I'd rate it pretty highly as well.
Cool.
Well, if that's it, everybody, let's do some pimping. Who's got a plug? I know you guys have one.
I mean, I was going to plug something this week, but Greg's not here because I thought we could kind of plug it as a group.
As
a group for the first time.
Well,
sexy.
We can hold off till next time.
Let's wait till
it's still a ways away.
Yeah, let's wait till Greg comes back and we'll do that whole thing as a group. Otherwise, you got a plug, Maddie?
No.
Then Patrick will plug us all.
Don't pet other people's animals without permission.
Oh my god. That guy almost fucking died. So people know, some people carry mace in their purse and have like literally no reason not to go to jail.
Yeah, that's true. So if you're a fan of the Frightcast, and we know that you are, help us out. Head on over to iTunes or whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on and make sure that you rate and review us. You can find us on all the social medias. And you can find us at our own website, midnightfrightcast.com. And make sure that you go on over and check out our films at midnightfrightfilms.com.
All right, everybody. From myself, the absent Greg, Patrick, and Josh, thank you for tuning in with us on this lovely Sunday afternoon. We will see you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Later.